Hi kids, welcome to Miss Nancy's Bible College for Kids. Glad to have you with me. Today we're doing another book in the series, Once Upon a Truth. Today's story is Sleeping with Lions. And this is a story about Daniel in the Bible. And again, I'm going to prove to you that I can ask all the questions just like if I was reading it from the Bible. I've got so many of these that I've got ready to do, but I can't do them all. But I'm going to show you the picture again. I told him, I said, make the lines as real as you can. They don't get Miss Nancy yet, but they will. But once upon a truth, a long, long time ago, remember I told you they're all going to start the same, in a very faraway land lived a king named Darius. King Darius was a very wise man. He set over his kingdom 120 princes. Over these princes, he placed 3 presidents. Daniel had an excellent spirit in him, so King Darius thought to put Daniel over his whole realm. I want to make sure you get to see the pictures, because I paid a bunch for them. This upset all the other presidents and princes. They began to plan ways to get rid of Daniel. They realized there was no fault to find in him, except it be against the law of his God. They said, King Darius, live forever. We have decided to make a royal law that anyone who asks anything of any god or man for 30 days, except for you, O king, shall be cast into a den of lions. They tricked the king. He was wise, but he must have not been thinking this day. They tricked him into signing the law. When Daniel knew that the law had been passed or was signed, he went home, he opened his windows, he kneeled on his knees 3 times a day and gave thanks before his God, just like he had done before the law was passed. These men came and found Daniel praying to his God. Notice, it wasn't their God. They didn't know him. But they went back and tattled like people do. They went before the king to ask about the law that he had signed. Have you not made a law that any man that should ask of any god or any man anything for 30 days, except for you, should be cast into a den of lions? They're acting surprised, or maybe that they don't remember exactly. The king answered and said, yes, and the law cannot be changed. Then they said before the king, that Daniel of Judah is not obeying your law. He is praying to his God 3 times a day. Well, I wish somebody would tell on me like that. When King Darius heard this, he was displeased with himself. He set his heart to rescue Daniel until sundown. But his presidents and princes quickly reminded him the law cannot be changed. Then commanded King Darius, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. The king spoke and said to Daniel, thy God you serve will deliver you. Boy, King Darius, he might not know a lot, but he had faith in this God that Daniel knew. A stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. The king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, that the law may not be changed about Daniel. And I want to stop right there for a second and say, where the words of a king is, there's power. And that's why the King James Bible, 1611, is the only Bible. The rest of them are just perversions of it. So don't even pay no attention. If you got something else, don't worry about it. Throw it away and go get you another one of King James. See the picture? Daniel looks like he's sweating bullets, don't he? I don't know about this. I don't know what's going to happen to you. The king, though, he was upset. He couldn't sleep. He went to his palace. He would not eat or hear any music. He could not sleep that night. Early the next morning, the king rose. But before we get to that, look at this little feast that the king is having. I wish I lived in that palace. I could eat every bit of that, I guess. But he arose early. He went quickly to the den of lions. See, he went quickly. He didn't even get out of his dress clothes for bed. He went quickly to the den of lions. He cried out desperately to Daniel, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, is your God able to deliver you from the lions?" Daniel said to the king, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths. They have not hurt me. Why? Because I am innocent." Daniel had done nothing wrong. He was just serving his king no matter what they thought. And I'm talking about the real king, not King Darius. Then King Darius was so happy. He commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den. No hurt was found on him because he believed in his God. Boy, the king's happy, but I'd say Daniel's happier. It looks like him and the lions has been taking a good long nap. The king commanded, and they brought those men who accused Daniel. They cast them and their children and their wives into the lions. I want to stop right there a minute, guys. When you do wrong, there is always repercussions or consequences. And usually it don't just hurt you, it hurts other people. We need to be so mindful of this. I have to say, Miss Nancy's been guilty before. But they cast them, their children, and their wives into the lions. Guess what happened? They didn't sleep around the lions. The lions didn't let them rest on their backs or nothing. The lions had the mastery of them. They break all their bones before they hit the bottom. Now I wonder what's going to happen. Then King Darius wrote to all the people that dwelt in all the earth. I wish we had a president or a ruler now that would write this same thing. "I make a new law. Every man of my kingdom must fear and tremble before the God of Daniel. Here's why. He is the living God. His kingdom will never be destroyed. He works signs and wonders in heaven and earth. He delivered Daniel from the power of lions." Daniel prospered. Well, I hope you love this story. I know I do. Now, let's get on to the questions and answers. Hope you get them all right. Who was the king in this story? Darius. How many princes did he set over his kingdom? 120. Who was going to be over these 120 princes? Presidents. How many presidents? We just have one, kind of. 3 presidents. Who did the princes give accounts to? They had to go through Daniel to get to the king. And the reason this was is because the king wanted no damage, and he trusted Daniel with everything. Why was Daniel preferred above all the presidents and all the princes? He had an excellent spirit in him. What did King Darius think to do with Daniel? Put him over the entire kingdom. That was a smart thing. But what did the presidents and princes want to do to Daniel? They had to find a fault in him, but they knew they couldn't. There was only one way. Can you kids remember what way that was? Concerning his God, they had to find something. So that's why they come up with this next plan. So what did they all get together to do? They went to King Darius, made him think, of course, it was his idea, but they wanted him to do what? To make a royal statute, which is like a law or a firm decree. And what was it? What was written in that statute? That anyone who asked any petition of any god or any man except you, O king, should be put where, guys? In the den of lions. What did they ask King Darius to do then? Put it in writing and seal it with your ring so it cannot be changed. And that's the law of the Medes and Persians. We're not going to get into that. But did King Darius sign it? Well, yes, he did. When Daniel heard about it, what did Daniel do? He went home. He opened the windows and doors towards Jerusalem, and he kneeled down on his knees, and he did something. What was it? He prayed. How many times did he do that each day? 3 times a day. And he gave thanks before his God. You know what we ought to do? We ought to give him thanks for food and water and clothing, a warm house. Hot running water is one of the things I enjoy the most. just for everything, but most of all for saving our soul. If we're saved, if you're not, you're in trouble. When the men found out and went to Daniel's house what he was doing, what did they do? They went blabbing to king and told him, said, remember, didn't you make a law, O king, that said, that was kind of leading them into thinking, you did it. But they said, you made that law that no man could ask of any king or any god anything for 30 days except for you. He said, oh yeah, I did. I remember it. So how did King Darius feel when they told him what had happened? He felt disappointed, not in anything but himself. I've done that before. So what did he set out to do till sundown? To try to rescue Daniel. But did that happen? No, it didn't. What did he command them to do? He said, bring him and do it. So they did. And what did King Darius say to Daniel? Thy God, whom thou believest in and serve, he will deliver you. What was placed at the den of the lion's mouth? A big stone, wasn't it? And then what did the king do? Sealed it with his ring, didn't he? So that they could not open it again. What did King Darius do then? Did he go home, take a nap? Eat a big meal? No, he went to the palace. He fasted all night. He said no music, no food, and then he couldn't sleep. But what did King Darius do early in the morning? He arose, hurried, remember he's still in his jammies, and he went to the den of lions, and then what did he say? Oh, Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God able to deliver thee? What did Daniel say? Yes, O king, live forever. My God hath shut the lion's mouth, and he has delivered me. And he says, why? Because I was innocent. And what did he command them to do then? To bring Daniel up out of the den. So what did they do? They brought him up, didn't they? But what happened with all these people that had accused Daniel and got this bad law passed in the first place? The King Darius ordered them to come down there and to be thrown into the den of lions. Not just the men that tricked him, but the men's wives and their children. This was a serious thing. Was the lions as nice to them as they was to Daniel? No, ma'am, no, sir. They tore their bones in pieces before they even reached the bottom of the pit. What decree did King Darius make to all the people and nations after that? In every dominion of my kingdom, men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed, and the kingdom will last throughout. He delivered and rescued Daniel. He worked signs and wonders in heaven. He's the real deal. And Daniel, what did he do? He prospered after that. He kept going. He was a man of God that was so obedient that God could do some things to him. And kids, what I want to challenge you to do is, if God could speak to you, he would say, kids, go tell other kids about me. And, oh yeah, you're not saved, so you need to ask me to come into your heart so I can be in you and you can be with me. And when he does, you'll be as good as in heaven with the door shut. Remember, you have to believe that Jesus died on the cross, according to the scriptures, that he was buried, and 3 days later, he arose from the grave, saying he was God's son. And then if you ask him, the Bible says, whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. It don't say you might be. Don't say you have to work hard, be good, do all this stuff. You ask him, he's going to come into you, and then you'll be good to go. And if not, you need to pray. That's all it takes. Just call on his name. Hope to see you next time on YouTube. Thanks, guys.